The history of India begins with the birth of the Indus Valley Civilization, more precisely known as Harappan Civilization. It flourished around 2500 BC, in the western part of South Asia, what today is Pakistan and western India. The Indus Valley was home to the largest of the four ancient urban civilizations of Egypt, Mesopotamia, India and China. Nothing was known about this civilization till 1920s when the Archaeological Department of India carried out excavations in the Indus Valley wherein the ruins of the two old cities, viz. Mohenjo-daro and Harappa were unearthed. The ruins of buildings and other things like household articles, weapons of war, gold and silver ornaments, seals, toys, pottery wares, etc. show that some 4,000 to 5,000 years ago a highly developed civilization flourished in this region. The Indus Valley Civilization was basically an urban civilization and the people lived in well-planned and well-built towns, which were also the centers for trade. The ruins of Mohenjo-daro and Harappa show that these were magnificent merchant cities well-planned, scientifically laid, and well looked after. They had wide roads and a well-developed drainage system. The houses were made of baked bricks and had two or more stories. By 1500 BC, the Harappan culture came to an end. Among various causes ascribed to the decay of Indus Valley Civilization are the recurrent floods and other natural causes like earthquake, etc. The Vedic civilization is the earliest civilization in the history of ancient India. It is named after the Vedas, the early literature of the Hindu people. The Vedic civilization flourished along the river Saraswati, in the region that now consists of the modern Indian states of Haryana and Punjab. Vedic is synonymous with Hinduism, which is another name for religious and spiritual thought that has evolved from the Vedas. The Ramayana and Mahabharata were the two great epics of this period. During the lifetime of Lord Gautama Buddha, 16 great powers existed in the 7th and early 6th centuries BC. Among the more important republics were the Sakyas of Kapilavastu II and the Likavas of Vaishali. Besides the republics, there were monarchical states, among which the important ones were Kaushambi, Magadha, Kausala and Avanti. However, there were distinct signs of the republican states while those under the monarchs were expanding, and Magadha emerged as supreme power among them. Haiti was ruled by Harayanka dynasty, followed by Sasanga and Nanda dynasty. Nanda Empire established by Mahapadmananda was a vast territory. Buddha was born in BC 560 and died at the age of 80 in BC 480. The place of his birth was a grove known as Lumbini, near the city of Kapilavastu, at the foot of Mount Palpa in the Himalayan ranges within Nepal. Buddha, whose original name was Siddhartha Gautama, was the founder of Buddhism, the religion and the philosophical system that evolved into a great culture throughout much of southern and eastern Asia. In 326 BC, Alexander invaded India. After crossing the river Indus he advanced towards Taxila. He then challenged King Porus, ruler of the kingdom between the rivers Jhelum and Chenab. The Indians were defeated in the fierce battle, even though they fought with elephants, which the Macedonians had never before seen. Alexander captured Porus and, like the other local rulers he had defeated, allowed him to continue to govern his territory. Alexander and his army reached the mouth of the Indus in July 325 BC, and turned westward for home. The period of the Mauryan Empire marked a new epoch in the history of India. It is said to be a period when chronology became definite. Chandragupta, who ruled from 324 to 301 BC, thus earned the title of Liberator and the first emperor of Bharata. Ashoka emerged not only as the most famous king of the Maurya dynasty, but is also regarded as one of the greatest king of India and the world. His empire covered the whole territory from Hindu Kush to Bengal and extended over Afghanistan, Balochistan and the whole of India with the exception of a small area in the farthest south. The valleys of Nepal and Kashmir were also included in his empire. The most important event of Ashoka's reign was the conquest of Kalinga, which proved to be the turning point of his life. The Kalinga War witnessed terrible manslaughter and destruction. The sufferings and atrocities of the battlefield lacerated the heart of Ashoka. He made a resolve not to wage war anymore. He realized the wickedness of worldly conquest and the beauty of moral and spiritual triumph. He was drawn to the teachings of Buddha and devoted his life to the conquest of men's heart by the law of duty or piety. Ashoka was succeeded by weak rulers, which encouraged the provinces to proclaim their independence. The arduous task of administering such a vast empire could not be executed by the weak rulers. The mutual quarrel among the successors also contributed to the decline of the Mauryan Empire. Sunga, Kanva, Satavahanas, Sakas established their kingdom in North India, while the south was ruled by Chera, Kala and Pandyas. In the beginning of the 1st century AD, the Kushanas established their authority over the northwest frontier of India. The most famous among the Kushana kings was Kanishka, who was the third in the Kushana dynasty. The Kushana rule continued till the middle of 3rd century AD. The most notable achievement of their rule was the development of Gandhara's school of art and further spread of Buddhism into distant regions of Asia. With the commencement of the 7th century, Harshavardhana ascended the throne of the Nishwar and Kano on the death of his brother, Rajyavardhana. By 612, Harshavardhana consolidated his kingdom in northern India. The Chinese traveler, Haya Tseng, who visited India during his reign, has given a vivid description of the social, economic and religious conditions under the rule of Harsha. Spoke highly of the king. Harsha's death, once again, left India without any central paramount power. The Chalukyas were a great power in southern India between 6th and 8th century AD. Pulakesinai, the first great ruler of this dynasty, ascended the throne in 540 AD and, having made many splendid victories, established a mighty empire. Bhaktidurga laid the foundation of the next great empire of Karnataka and Maharashtra called Rashtrakutas. The Pallava power reached its glorious heights during the reign of Narasimhavarman II, who is well known for his architectural achievements. Ultimately, the Jalas defeated the Pallava king Aparayida and took over their kingdom towards the close of the 9th century AD. With the end of the 9th century AD, the medieval history of India started with the rise of empires such as the Palas, the Senas, the Prataharas and the Rashtrakutas, and so on. Between 8th and 10th centuries AD, a number of powerful empires dominated the eastern and northern parts of India. The Pala king Dharmapala, son of Gopala, reigned from the late 8th century AD to early 9th century AD. Nalanda University and Vikramashila University were founded by Dharmapala. The greatest ruler of the Pratihara dynasty was Mahabharya. He recovered Kannauj by 836, and it remained the capital of the Pratiharas for almost a century. He built the city Bhojpur. Rajabhoya and other valiant Buyara kings faced and defeated many attacks of the Arabs from west. The initial entry of Islam into South Asia came in the 1st century after the death of the Prophet Muhammad. The Umayyad Caliph in Damascus sent an expedition to Balochistan and Sindh in 711 led by Muhammad bin Qasim. He captured Sindh and Multan. 300 years after his death, Sultan Mahmud of Ghazni, the ferocious leader, led a series of raids against Rajput kingdoms and rich Hindu temples, and established a base in Punjab for future incursions. In 1024, the Sultan set out on his last famous expedition to the southern coast of Kathai, where along the Arabian Sea, where he sacked the city of Sarnath and its renowned Hindu temple. Muhammad Ghori invaded India in 1175 AD. After the conquest of Multan and Punjab, he advanced towards Delhi. The brave Rajput chiefs of northern India headed by Prithviraj Chawan defeated him in the First Battle of Tarain in 1191 AD. After about a year, Muhammad Ghori came again to avenge his defeat. A furious battle was fought again in Tarain in 1192 AD, in which the Rajputs were defeated and Prithviraj Chawan was captured and put to death. The Second Battle of Tarain, however, proved to be a decisive battle that laid the foundations of Muslim rule in northern India. The period between 1206 AD and 1526 AD in India's history is known as the Delhi Sultanate period. During this period of over 300 years, 5 dynasties ruled in Delhi. These were the Slave Dynasty, Khilji Dynasty, Tughlaq Dynasty, Sayyid Dynasty, and Lodi Dynasty. Tabuddin Aibak, a slave of Muhammad Ghori, who became the ruler after the death of his master, founded the Slave Dynasty, followed by Shamsuddin Iltutmish. Razia Begum, the capable daughter of Iltutmish, was the first and the only Muslim lady who ever adorned the throne of Delhi. She fought valiantly, but was defeated and killed. Following the death of last King Balban, the Sultanate became weak and there were a number of revolts. This was the period when the nobles placed Jalaluddin Khilji on the throne. This marked the beginning of Khilji dynasty. The rule of this dynasty started in 1290 AD. Alauddin Khilji, a nephew of Jalaluddin Khilji, hatched a conspiracy and got Sultan Jalaluddin killed and proclaimed himself as the Sultan in 1296. Alauddin Khilji was the first Muslim ruler whose empire covered almost all of India up to its extreme south. Ghaisuddin Talak, who was the governor of Punjab during the reign of Alauddin Khilji, ascended the throne in 1320 AD and founded the Talak dynasty. Muhammad bin Talak succeeded his father and extended the kingdom beyond India into Central Asia. Mongols invaded India during Talak rule and were defeated as time too. Muhammad bin Talak first shifted his capital from Delhi to Devagiri in Deccan. However, it had to be shifted back within 2 years. He inherited a massive empire, but lost many of its provinces, more particularly Deccan and Bengal. He died in 1351 AD and his cousin, Feroz Talak, succeeded him. It was during the reign of the last king of the Talak dynasty that the mighty King Timur or Tamerlan invaded India in 1398 AD. He crossed Indus and captured Multan, and just walked over to Delhi without much resistance. Bullal Khan Lodi was the first king and the founder of the Lodi dynasty. With a view to restoring the Delhi Sultanate its past glory, he conquered many territories including the powerful kingdom of Jaunpur. Bullal Khan extended his territories over Gwalior, Jaunpur and Uttar Pradesh. Last Lodi Ibrahim Lodi did not prove to be an able ruler. He became more and more strict with the nobles. He used to insult them. Thus, to take revenge of their insults, Daulad Khan Lodi, governor of Lahore and Alimpur, an uncle of Sultan Ibrahim Lodi, invited Babar, the ruler of Kabul, to invade India. Ibrahim Lodi was killed at Panipat in 1526 AD by Babar's army. Thus came the final collapse of Delhi Sultanate and paved the establishment of Mughal Empire in India. When Muhammad Talak was losing his power in Deccan, the two Hindu princes, Harihar and Bhupa, founded an independent kingdom in the region between the river Krishna and Tungabhadra in 1336. They soon established their sway over the entire territory between the rivers Krishna in the north and Kaveri in the south. The rising powers of the Vijayanagar Empire brought it into clash with many powers, and they frequently fought wars with the Bahmani kingdom. The most famous king of the Vijayanagar Empire was Krishnadeva Raya. The Vijayanagar kingdom reached the pinnacle of its glory during his reign. He was successful in all the wars he waged. He defeated the king of Odisha and annexed Vijayawada and Rajmahendri. The decline of the Vijayanagar kingdom began with the death of Krishnadeva Raya in 1529. The kingdom came to an end in 1565, when Ramray was defeated at Talikota by the joint efforts of Adil Shahi, Nizam Shahi, Tub Shahi and Barid Shahi. After this, the kingdom broke into small states. The Muslim kingdom of Bahmani was established by some nobles of the Deccan who revolted against the repressive policies of Sultan Muhammad Talak. In 1347, Hazm became the king under the title Abdul Muzaffar Alauddin Bahman Shah and founded the Bahmani dynasty. This dynasty lasted for about 175 years and had 18 rulers. At the height of its glory, the Bahmani kingdom extended from north of Krishna River up to Narmada and stretched east-west from the coasts of the Bay of Bengal to the Arabian Sea. Bahmani Empire came to an end with the death of its last king Kalimullah in 1527. Thereafter, Bahmani Empire was disintegrated into 5 regional independent principalities: Ahmednagar, the Jaipur, Berar, Bidar and Golconda. In India, the Mughal Empire was one of the greatest empires ever. The Mughal Empire ruled hundreds of millions of people. India became united under one rule, and had very prosperous cultural and political years during the Mughal rule. There were many Muslim and Hindu kingdoms split all throughout India until the founders of the Mughal Empire came. There were some men such as Babar, grandson to the great Asian conqueror Tamerlan, and the conqueror Genghis Khan from the northern region of Ganges River Valley, who decided to take over Khyber, and eventually, all of India. Babar ruled until 1530, and was succeeded by his son Humayun. The eldest son of Babar succeeded his father, and became the second emperor of the Mughal Empire. He ruled India for nearly a decade, but was ousted by Sher Shah Suri, the Afghan ruler. Sher Shah Suri was an Afghan leader who took over the Mughal Empire after defeating Humayun in 1540. He established an efficient public administration. It was under his rule that the Grand Trunk Road from Delhi to Kabul was built. Humayun's heir, Akbar, was born in in exile and was only 13 years old when his father died. Akbar's reign holds a certain prominence in history. He was the ruler who actually fortified the foundations of the Mughal Empire. Akbar was succeeded by his son, Salim, who took the title of Jahangir, meaning conqueror of the world. Jahangir was succeeded by his second son Khurram in 1628. Khurram took the name of Shah Jahan. The Mughal Empire was at its zenith during Shah Jahan's rule. This was due to almost 100 years of unparalleled prosperity and peace. As a result, during this reign, the world witnessed the unique development of arts and culture of the Mughal Empire. Shah Jahan has been called the Architect King. The Red Fort and the Jama Masjid, both in Delhi, stand out as towering achievements of both civil engineering and art. Yet above all else, Shah Jahan is remembered today for the Taj Mahal, the massive white marble mausoleum constructed for his wife Mumtaz Mahal along the banks of the Yamuna River in Agra. Aurangzeb ascended the throne in 1658 and ruled supreme till 1707. Thus Aurangzeb ruled for 50 years, matching Akbar's reign in longevity. But unfortunately he kept his 5 sons away from the royal court with the result that none of them was trained in the art of government. This proved to be very damaging for the Mughals later on. During his 50 years of rule, Aurangzeb tried to fulfill his ambition of bringing the entire subcontinent under one rule. It was under him that the Mughal Empire reached its peak in matter of area. He worked hard for years, but his health broke down in the end. He left behind no personal wealth when he died in 1707, at the age of 90 years. With his death, the forces of disintegration set in and the mighty Mughal Empire started collapsing. Sikhism was founded by Guru Nanak Dev at the beginning of the 16th century. Guru Nanak was born on April 15, 1469 in the western Punjab village of Talwandi. Even as a child, he was given to deep thinking with no interest in worldly life. At the age of 30, he got enlightenment. Thereafter, he traveled almost the whole of the country and went over to Mecca and Baghdad, preaching his message. On his death he was followed by 9 other gurus in succession. Sri Guru Tegh Bahadur became guru in 1664. When Mughal governor of Kashmir resorted to forcible conversion of Hindus, Guru Tegh Bahadur decided to fight it out. Gurudwara Saskinj in Delhi stands at the place of Guru Sahib's martyrdom, and Gurudwara Ekabganj at the site of his cremation. The 10th Guru, Guru Gobind Singh, was born in 1666 and became Guru after the martyrdom of his father Guru Tegh Bahadur. Guru Gobind Singh, at the time of his death, invested the Guru Granth Sahib as the supreme head of the Sikhs, thus bringing the practice of nominating a religious head to a grinding halt. Chhatrapati Shivaji, the great Maratha hero, established the Maratha Empire in the Deccan, fighting the powerful Mughals, who were ruling India then. He motivated and combined the common man to fight against the domination of the Mughal Emperor Aurangzeb, by inculcating wisdom of pride and nationality in them. Shivaji showed his spirit at the young age of 18, when he overran a number of hill forts near Pune. He raised a strong army and navy, built and renovated forts. A regular element of his campaigns was his use of guerrilla warfare. The Mughal Empire started disintegrating with the death of Aurangzeb in 1707. His son and successor, Bahadur Shah Zafar, was already old when he took the throne and was confronted with one rebellion after another. At that time, the empire was facing challenges from the Marathas and the British. The imperial dynasty became extinct with Bahadur Shah II, who was deported to Rangoon by the British on suspicion of assisting the Sirpali mutineers. He died there in 1862. This marked the end of the medieval era of Indian history, and gradually, the British paramountcy over the nation increased and gave birth to the Indian struggle for freedom. The conquest of India, which could be said to have begun with the Battle of Plassey, was practically completed by the end of Dalhousie's tenure in 1856. It had been by no means a smooth affair, as the simmering discontent of the people manifested itself in many localized revolts during this period. However, the Mutiny of 1857, which began with a revolt of the military soldiers at Meerut, soon became widespread and posed a grave challenge to the British rule. Even though the British succeeded in crushing it within a year, it was certainly a popular revolt in which the Indian rulers, the masses and the militia participated so enthusiastically that it came to be regarded as the first war of Indian independence. Queen Victoria's proclamation of November 1, 1858 declared that thereafter India would be governed by and in the name of the British monarch through a Secretary of State. The Governor-General was given title of Viceroy, which meant the representative of the monarch. Queen Victoria assumed the title of the Empress of India and thus gave the British government unlimited powers to intervene in the internal affair of the Indian states. The leadership of the freedom movement passed into the hands of reformists like Raja Mohan Roy, Bankim Chandra and Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar. During this time, the binding psychological concept of national unity was also forged in the fire of the struggle against the common foreign oppressor. The foundations of the Indian national movement were laid by Surendranath Banerjee with the formation of Indian Association with Calcutta in 1876. The aim of the association was to represent the views of the educated middle class, inspire the Indian community to take the value of united action. The Indian Association was, in a way, the forerunner of the Indian National Congress, which was founded, with the help of A.O. Hume, a retired British official. The birth of Indian National Congress in 1885 marked the entry of new educated middle class into politics and transformed the Indian political horizon. Subsequently, King George V made two announcements in Delhi. Firstly, the partition of Bengal, which had been effected in 1905, was annulled, and secondly, it was announced that the capital of India was to be shifted from Calcutta to Delhi. The disgust with the reforms announced in 1909 led to the intensification of the struggle for Swaraj. While, on one side, the activists led by the great leaders like Bal Gangadhar Tilak, Lala Lajpat Rai and Bipin Chandra Pal waged a virtual war against the British. Jallianwala Bagh massacre of April 13, 1919 was one of the most inhuman acts of the British rulers in India. The people of Punjab gathered on the auspicious day of Baisakhi at Jallianwala Bagh, adjacent to Golden Temple, to lodge their protest peacefully against persecution by the British Indian government. General Dyer appeared suddenly with his armed police force and fired indiscriminately at innocent empty-handed people, leaving hundreds of people dead, including women and children. After the First World War, Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi became the undisputed leader of the Congress. During this struggle, Mahatma Gandhi had developed a novel technique of nonviolent agitation, which he called Satyagraha, loosely translated as moral domination. Gandhi, himself a devout Hindu, also espoused a total moral philosophy of tolerance, brotherhood of all religions, nonviolence, and of simple living. With this, new leaders like Jawaharlal Nehru and Subhash Chandra Bose also emerged on the scene and advocated the adoption of complete independence as the goal of the national movement. The non-cooperation movement was pitched in under leadership of Mahatma Gandhi and the Indian National Congress from September 1920 to February 1922, marking a new awakening in the Indian independence movement. After a series of events including the Jallianwala Bagh massacre, Gandhiji realized that there was no prospect of getting any fair treatment at the hands of British. So he planned to withdraw the nation's cooperation from the British government, thus launching the non-cooperation movement and thereby marring the administrative setup of the country. This movement was a great success as it got massive encouragement to millions of Indians. This movement almost shook the British authorities. The Simon Commission was sent to India in 1927 by the British government to suggest further reforms in the structure of Indian government. The commission did not include any Indian member, and the government showed no intention of accepting the demand for Swaraj. Therefore, it sparked a wave of protests all over the country, and the Congress as well as the Muslim League gave a call to boycott it under the leadership of Lala Lajpat Rai. The crowds were lathi-charged and Lala Lajpat Rai, also called Sher-e Punjab, died of the blows received in an agitation. Mahatma Gandhi led the civil disobedience movement that was launched in the Congress session of December 1929. The aim of this movement was a complete disobedience of the orders of the British government. During this movement it was decided that India would celebrate the 26th of January as Independence Day all over the country. On the 26th of January 1930, meetings were held all over the country and the Congress tricolor was hoisted. The British government tried to repress the movement and resorted to brutal firing, killing hundreds of people. Thousands were arrested along with Gandhiji and Jawaharlal Nehru. But the movement spread to all the four corners of the country. Following this, round-table conferences were arranged by the British and Gandhiji attended the second round-table conference at London. But nothing came out of the conference and the civil disobedience movement was revived. During this time, Bhagat Singh, Sukhdev and Rajguru were arrested on the charges of throwing a bomb in the Central Assembly Hall in Delhi to demonstrate against the autocratic alien rule. They were hanged to death on March 23, 1931. In August 1942, Gandhiji started the Quit India movement and decided to launch a mass civil disobedience movement do or die call to force the British to leave India. The movement was followed, nonetheless, by large-scale violence directed at railway stations, telegraph offices, government buildings, and other emblems and institutions of colonial rule. There were widespread acts of sabotage, and the government held Gandhi responsible for these acts of violence, suggesting that they were a deliberate act of Congress policy. However, all the prominent leaders were arrested, the Congress was banned, and the police and army were brought out to suppress the movement. Meanwhile, Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose, who stealthily ran away from the British detention in Calcutta, reached foreign lands and organized the Indian National Army to overthrow the British from India. At the conclusion of the Second World War, the Labour Party, under Prime Minister Clement Richard Attlee, came to power in Britain. The Labour Party was largely sympathetic towards Indian people for freedom. A cabinet mission was sent to India in March 1946, which, after a careful study of the Indian political scenario, proposed the formation of an interim government and convening of a constituent assembly comprising members elected by the provincial legislatures and nominees of the Indian states. An interim government was formed headed by Jawaharlal Nehru. However, the Muslim League refused to participate in the deliberations of the Constituent Assembly and pressed for the separate state for Pakistan. Lord Mountbatten, the Viceroy of India, presented a plan for the division of India into India and Pakistan, and the Indian leaders had no choice but to accept the division, as the Muslim League was adamant. Thus, India became free at the stroke of midnight, on August 14, 1947. Since then, every year India celebrates its Independence Day on the 15th of August. Jawaharlal Nehru became the first Prime Minister of Free India and continued his term till 1964. Earlier, a Constituent Assembly was formed in July 1946 to frame the Constitution of India, and Dr. Rajendra Prasad was elected its president. The Constitution of India, which was adopted by the Constituent Assembly on the 26th of November 1949. On January 26, 1950, the Constitution came into force, and Dr. Rajendra Prasad was elected the first President of India. The States Reorganization Act, 1956 was a major reform of the boundaries of India's states and territories, organizing them along linguistic lines. Although additional changes to India's state boundaries have been made since 1956, the States Reorganization Act of 1956 remains the single most extensive change in state boundaries since the independence of India in 1947. Thus, after the struggle of many years, India stands as a union of 28 states and 8 union territories now in 2020.